Let me now bring in Behnam Ben Taleblu, Senior Director of the Iran Program at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, where he is also a senior fellow. We're also joined by the Vice President of the National Union for Democracy in Iran, Cameron Consarinia. Gentlemen, thanks for hopping on with me early this Monday morning. Behnam, let me just start with you. President Trump telling reporters that Iran is starting to cross a red line in its crackdown on protesters. How significant is what we're seeing? I mean, more than 500 people dead in the context of past protests. How big of a deal is this?
Great to be with you, Marky. Greetings, Cameron. No doubt in the 46, if not 47 years of the Islamic Republic, there have been street protests against the Islamic Republic, but this is perhaps the most significant vector of pressure from the street against the state. Over the past 8-9 years now, we've seen Iranians use every possible opportunity to go out onto the street, not to push for a particular policy or reform, but to push for regime change in its entirety. And I would say now that number that you just mentioned, plus 500, is probably in the thousands, given the internet blackout that exists in Iran. And if past is prologue, when there's an internet blackout, it's Iranians that die under the cover of darkness. So it's not without accident that Iranians have been renaming streets in Trump's name, filming videos in English, asking for assistance here, because how will this unarmed street beat a state that is really armed to the teeth? That's the question.
Yeah, and 10,000 people now detained in this. Cameron, Trump said in a press conference, if they start killing people like they have in the past, we're going to come after them, and we're going to come after them and hit them hard where it hurts. But that doesn't mean military boots on the ground. You think he's going to follow through with those threats, Cameron?
The president has said repeatedly that he is not Barack Obama and he is not Joe Biden. In the 2009 nationwide Iran protests, protesters on the street literally chanted, "Obama, Obama, are you with us? Are you with them?" And President Obama clearly chose to stand with the Islamic Republic over the Iranian people. And I don't think President Trump will make the same decision. I think he's very clear in his support of the protesters, especially now that reports indicate over 5,000 protesters have been murdered by this regime. To put that into context, that's more soldiers than the United States lost in the entirety of the Iraq War. That's 2 times the amount of civilians that were murdered on the 9/11 terrorist attacks in just a span of 3 or 4 days. And this is happening under a total internet blackout. The Islamic Republic is threatening President Trump. They're trying to push him into a position where he or call his bluff. But I don't think the president's bluffing. I think he's very serious about this, and he sees the defiance of this regime, and he sees their brutal treatment of their own people. And I do think that, as he promised, he will come to their aid.
Behnam, President Trump has been briefed, we're told, on multiple options on the use of military force in that region if it comes to that point. What options do you think are on the table for him right now?
Well, no doubt President Trump has all the cards here, as he likes to say. It's really a matter of political interest, risk tolerance, and a theory of victory. The president obviously could use cyber attacks to blind the regime's command and control, to prevent this apparatus from continuing to crack down, again, with brutal violence against protesters. That could go kinetic, going after the repression apparatus, kind of like the Israelis did at the end of the 12-day war. There's tons of options, again, on the high side, on the cyber side, to try to fight back on the jamming to help get Iranians back online. There's been lots of murmur about trying to officially authorize Starlink to get into Iran. There's tons of that. Starlink that has been helping to bring the videos, that's the satellite communications, to help bring the videos from the Iranian people and their mobile phones out. But that's been coming in dribs and drabs and doesn't exist really on a national scale. I think that would be a priority. But really, when the guns have been turned open on the Iranian people, helping them connect to the internet is necessary, but it's not sufficient. What I am worried about, however, is a recent story, I think first reported by AP, but from a press conversation with the president aboard Air Force One, where he said he was entertaining the idea of possible negotiations with the Islamic Republic. And make no mistake, nothing would draw a sharper comparison rather than a sharper contrast between President Trump and President Obama if there are street protests. And again, the president of the United States looks to give the regime a hand and talk to them, rather than push back on them.
And Cameron, we know that all of these protests originally started at taking aim to the economy there, but it seems like it's exploded way past that and is now pushing against authoritarian rule. How close are these protesters to getting what they want and getting regime change? Is that even possible?
Well, I think it's absolutely possible, and that's the clear objective of these protesters. What's so significant about these protests is not only their length and their scale and their breadth across the country, it's their political significance. In past protests, Iranians on the streets have been clearly aligned in what they do not want, and that's the Islamic Republic. What they're clearly aligned on in these protests is not just what they do not want, the Islamic Republic, but what they do want. And we have seen nationwide chanting in favor of Reza Pahlavi, Iran's exiled crown prince, who has emerged as really the unifying leader of this movement. The protests escalated in particular when 3 or 4 days ago he specifically called for 2 days of nationwide protests at 8 p.m. and millions of people took to the streets. So we clearly see the conditions necessary for a revolution to succeed: popular discontent, popular willingness to act on that discontent on the streets, and a leadership of the movement that is ready to step into the country. The Crown Prince has announced that he is making preparations to return to his country, to Iran, to lead the final battle and to oversee a stable transition to democracy. So we certainly see all the conditions necessary for such a change. I think what we're waiting for now is the backup support from the United States, from Israel, from others who can assist the Iranian people in this final battle. We don't need boots on the ground. The people of Iran are the boots on the ground. In fact, they're dying on the ground right now. What we need is the international support and intervention to prevent the regime from a further massacre and allow Iranians to finally be victorious in getting rid of this regime that has held Iran and the world hostage for 47 years.
And we know the country's attorney general saying that anybody protesting is considered an enemy of God, which is punishable by death. I mean, it's just frightening what's happening there on the ground. I got to end it there, but Behnam Ben Taleblu and Cameron Consarinia, thank you so much for taking the time this morning. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.